What if I told you that a single lie, planted by the people you trust the most, could ruin the love of your life and destroy your chance at happiness forever? I lived it. For 14 years, I've been haunted by a betrayal I didn't even know existed until now. This is my story. I was 22 when I thought I had found my forever. Her name was Emily. Beautiful, vibrant, full of life. She was 20, a little younger than me, but wise beyond her years. We had been together for 2 years, and those 2 years had been nothing short of magical. Every laugh, every quiet moment, every dream we shared felt like the building blocks of a life I had always imagined. When I finally got down on one knee, I felt a surge of hope and certainty that this was it. This was the person I wanted to spend the rest of my life with. I still remember the way her eyes glistened as she said yes, the way the world seemed to pause around us, like time itself was acknowledging the gravity of that moment. We were planning a wedding for the following June or July. I could already picture it, family gathered, laughter, love floating in the air, the kind of day that stays with you forever. Everything felt perfect. At that time, I was living at my parents' house. Emily couldn't fly home immediately, so she ended up moving in temporarily. She stayed in my sister's room, and at first it seemed convenient. We were together all the time, sharing meals, conversations, dreams. But slowly, a darkness began to creep in. At first it was small, minor irritations, fleeting moments of anger. But soon it escalated. She started getting upset with me over the smallest things, her frustration bubbling over into anger that I couldn't understand. Then came the hitting. I remember the shock, the disbelief. I would ask her what was wrong, and she would storm out, disappearing for days at a time. She came back, I would try to talk, and then she would vanish again. I was living in a constant state of confusion and fear, unable to understand how the love we once shared could have turned into this storm of aggression and resentment. For 14 years I have tried to make sense of it. 14 years of replaying every word, every glance, every missed sign. I have asked myself over and over, what happened? How did it go from perfect to unbearable so quickly? By the spring of 2011, her behavior had only worsened. Anger, violence, tears, relentless, unyielding. I began to suspect she had some mental disorder. I tried to help, to reach her, to understand, but she refused to explain herself. I suggested therapy, a safe space where she could speak freely, but that suggestion only made her more furious. It became clear I couldn't save this relationship, and so with a heavy heart, I broke off the engagement. We went our separate ways, but the weight of that separation followed me for years, a shadow I could never shake.
At first, the changes were subtle. Emily would sigh more often, roll her eyes at small things I said, or snap at me without reason. I brushed it off at first, thinking it was stress from moving and adjusting to a new environment. But soon, the tension became impossible to ignore. One evening, I remember we were sitting at the kitchen table, just talking about our day, when she suddenly slammed her hand down and shouted at me for something I couldn't even remember. Her words cut deep, but what scared me more was the intensity of her anger. I had never seen her like that before. I tried to stay calm, to understand, asking, "What's wrong? Why are you so upset?" But she wouldn't answer. She just stormed out of the house and didn't return for days. When she came back, she would act as if nothing had happened, smiling, laughing, pretending our relationship was perfect again. And then, just as suddenly, the cycle would repeat. Anger, hitting, silence, disappearance. I was trapped in a pattern I couldn't control, and every day left me more confused and anxious. I began to question myself. Was I doing something wrong? Was I not enough for her? The woman I loved, the woman I had imagined spending my life with, had become a stranger. And no matter how much I tried to reach her, to understand her pain, she remained distant, volatile, unreachable. It wasn't just the anger that hurt. It was the unpredictability, the constant emotional roller coaster. I started noticing the toll it was taking on me. Sleepless nights, constant worry, a growing sense of helplessness. I tried talking to her, tried reasoning, suggested therapy, anything to fix what felt broken, but nothing worked. Little did I know, the roots of this storm were not something Emily had done to herself. They had been planted long before I even knew what love was. And as the months went by, the love that once felt unbreakable was crumbling under the weight of lies and manipulation I couldn't yet see.
By the spring of 2011, everything had spiraled out of control. Emily's anger was constant, her tears relentless, her absence unbearable. It felt like I was living with two different people, one who loved me and one who despised me. I never knew which version I would wake up to, and the uncertainty was eating me alive. I tried to rationalize it. Maybe she was under too much stress. Maybe she was scared of the future. Maybe this was just a phase. But deep down, I knew something was broken, and no matter how hard I tried to fix it, I couldn't reach her. One night, after yet another argument that ended with her storming out of the house, I sat alone in my room, staring at the engagement ring on my desk. That ring had once symbolized hope, love, and a promise of forever. Now, it felt like a cruel reminder of everything slipping through my fingers. When she came back days later, I gathered the courage to tell her what I had been holding inside. "Emily," I said quietly, "I don't know what's happening to us, but I can't keep living like this. I love you, but I can't reach you anymore. If you won't tell me what's wrong, if you won't let me in, then maybe we shouldn't be together." Her response wasn't sadness or surprise. It was anger. She accused me of not understanding, of abandoning me, of being weak. Her words stung, but they also made the decision clear. We couldn't go on like this. And so, with a shattered heart, I ended the engagement. She left that night, and this time she didn't come back. I remember sitting on my bed, the silence of the house pressing down on me, realizing that the future I had built in my head, our wedding, our home, our children, had evaporated in an instant. The days that followed were a blur. I woke up in the mornings expecting to see her, to hear her voice, but the house was empty. My chest felt hollow, my mind restless. I replayed every moment we'd shared, every fight, every unanswered question, searching for clues I had missed. I blamed myself. Maybe I hadn't been patient enough. Maybe I hadn't fought hard enough. Maybe I wasn't enough. But the truth was, no amount of patience or love could have saved what was already poisoned. I just didn't know it yet. That was the day I lost her. But more than that, that was the day I lost a part of myself I would never fully get back.
Life moved on, but I didn't.
After Emily left, the world around me seemed to keep spinning as if nothing had happened. Friends graduated, got married, started families. My siblings pursued their own lives. Social media filled with smiling faces, wedding photos, baby announcements. And I just stood still. I tried to move forward. I dated other women, had relationships here and there, but something was always missing. I could never let myself fall again. Every time someone got too close, something inside me shut down. I told myself I was protecting my heart, that I was being cautious, but the truth was simpler and far more painful. I couldn't love. The emptiness crept into everything I did. I went to work, I paid my bills, I spent time with friends, but it all felt hollow, like I was just going through the motions of a life I wasn't really living. Nights were the hardest. I would lie in bed staring at the ceiling, wondering where it all went wrong, replaying those months with Emily in an endless loop. Was it my fault? Did I miss the signs? Could I have done more? I told myself over and over that she had changed, that maybe she had mental health struggles I couldn't fix, that the breakup had been inevitable. And yet, no matter how many times I repeated those lines, they never brought me peace. Years blurred together. My 20s slipped away, and then my 30s. I watched as my friends settled down, raising children who now call me uncle. At family gatherings, I felt the weight of being the odd one out, the single one, the one who never found love again. My parents would ask casually, "When are you going to bring someone home?" And I would shrug it off, laughing, pretending it didn't hurt. But deep down, it cut me every single time. I tried to distract myself, travel, hobbies, even short-lived flings. But none of it mattered. Nothing could fill the void Emily had left behind. And for 14 long years, I carried the silent burden of that failed engagement, never knowing why the woman I loved had turned against me so suddenly, never finding closure. And then, 14 years later, I finally got an answer. It wasn't Emily who betrayed me. It wasn't my fault. It was... And hey, if you've been listening this far and the story speaks to you, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel. I'm working hard to reach my first 1,000 subscribers, and your support truly means the world to me. Thank you for being here.
It was 2024 when the truth finally came out. 14 years after the breakup. I visited my parents for what I thought would be a normal afternoon. We sat in the living room, the same one where Emily and I had once dreamed about our future. My mom looked uneasy, her hands fidgeting in her lap. Then she sighed and said, "There's something I need to tell you." Her voice was quiet, but the weight of her words shattered me. She confessed that back in 2010, when Emily was living in our house, she and my father had told her I was cheating. They said I wasn't ready for marriage, that I was irresponsible, that she deserved better. They admitted it wasn't true. They had fabricated everything, because, according to them, my brother hadn't found love yet, so it wasn't fair for me to be engaged. In that moment, the floor beneath me might as well have given way. 14 years of confusion, heartbreak, and emptiness suddenly had an answer. And the answer was my own parents. I felt sick. My mind raced back through every fight, every tear, every time Emily had lashed out at me. She hadn't been crazy. She hadn't just changed overnight. She had been manipulated. She had believed the people who should have protected me most. And the cruelest part? It was too late. 14 years too late. Emily was gone.
My 20s and 30s were gone, and the chance to build the life I wanted had been stolen from me. Not by fate, not by circumstance, by my family. I don't even have words for the anger that consumed me. It wasn't just betrayal, it was erasure. They erased the future I should have had.
After my mother's confession, the world felt different, colder, heavier. I walked out of my parents' house that day with my chest burning, my mind spinning, and my hands shaking. The air outside was the same, but I wasn't. 14 years of questions had just been answered in a single conversation. 14 years of confusion, of sleepless nights, of wondering why, all explained by one truth I never saw coming. It was never Emily. It was never me. It was them, my own family. And what do you do with that? What do you do when the people who should love you the most admit that they sabotaged the most important relationship of your life on purpose? I felt like screaming. I wanted to drive until the road ran out, to disappear, to do anything that could burn away the fury boiling inside me. But no matter how far I went, I knew the truth would follow. Because you can't outrun betrayal when it's written into your very bloodline. That night, I sat alone in my apartment, staring at old photos I hadn't looked at in years. There she was, Emily, smiling, laughing, looking at me like I was her whole world. And I remembered how I used to look back at her with the same kind of love. And then I thought about how it all fell apart. How every fight, every tear, every angry word had been born from a lie whispered in her ear. Do you understand what that does to a person? For years, I believed I was the reason it all collapsed. For years, I carried guilt, self-doubt, shame. I convinced myself I was unworthy of love, that something was broken in me. And all along, the truth was hidden in plain sight, in the smiles of the very people who had caused it. That's the kind of damage you can't measure. That's the kind of wound that doesn't heal. And the hardest part? Knowing it can never be undone. 14 years. My 20s, my 30s. The chance to build a life, a family, a future. All stolen. Stolen by people I still have to look in the eyes at dinner tables. People who now ask me why I haven't given them grandchildren. It's maddening. It's cruel. And it's the reality I live with every single day.
In the days after that confession, I kept asking myself one question. What do I do with this truth now? I can't go back. I can't reclaim the years I lost. I can't reach out to Emily after 14 years and say, hey, it was all a lie. Maybe she's married now. Maybe she has children. Maybe she's happy. And even if she isn't, what would it change? The past is a locked door, and no matter how hard I push, it won't open. But the anger? That I can't escape. It simmers beneath everything. Every time I look at my parents, every time I hear them laugh, a part of me remembers what they took from me. Trust doesn't rebuild itself overnight. In fact, I'm not sure if it ever will. What I've come to realize is this. Betrayal doesn't always come from enemies. Sometimes it comes from the people you would least expect. And when it does, it cuts deeper than any knife. I don't share this story to gain sympathy. I share it because there are people out there, maybe even watching this right now, who are living through silent forms of abuse and betrayal that nobody else can see. And when they try to speak about it, they're silenced or laughed at. But I'm here to tell you, your pain is real. What you're going through matters, and you are not alone. 14 years of my life were stolen by lies. I can't get them back. But maybe, just maybe, by telling this story, I can prevent someone else from losing theirs. So if you take anything away from this, let it be this: trust your gut, guard your heart, and never underestimate the damage that manipulation can cause, even when it comes from those you love most. This is my story. A story of love, betrayal, and a truth revealed too late. And though the scars will always remain, I've learned that even scars tell a story. And maybe mine can help someone else find their voice. If you stayed with me all the way to the end, thank you. Please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who might need to hear it. I'm working to reach my first 1,000 subscribers, and your support means more than I can ever say. Together, we can make sure stories like this one are never silenced.